Five Nights at Freddy's probably has the most creative and talented fan base I have ever seen. I mean, how many other series have literal thousands of fan games made for it? Hell, a lot of these fan games are arguably better than its source material. Although, I would also say that the FNAF community also has its degenerates. So today I'll be discussing some of the greatest and some of the absolute worst Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. Here we go. Absolutely no introduction is needed for this game. Everyone that is in the Five Nights at Freddy's knows Emil Mako's Five Nights at Candy series, an absolutely iconic series that even made it into the Fanverse initiative. The gameplay of the first game is just a slightly different Five Nights at Freddy's 1, with the extra added middle vent in which animatronics can come through, and the absence of a light button, forcing the players to pay attention to try and see the eyes in the door. I love this fan game, considering it was one of the first Five Nights at Freddy's fan games I've ever watched. I'd recommend the Markiplier Let's Play because that's what I watched back in the day. Created as an inside joke by John Acrome and a few of his friends, One Night at Flumpty's is now widely known as one of the greatest Five Nights at Freddy's fan games ever made, especially after the Markiplier video came out. With fun gameplay, although unoriginal admittedly due to the first being very derivative of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, and lovable characters such as Flumpty, Birthday Boy Blam, and the Beaver Dude. Not that fucking clown, fuck that piece of shit. In fact, it was so great that it made its way into the Five Nights at Freddy's fanverse. I guess there isn't much lore or anything to talk about for this game, since it's pretty much just a joke. Once again, I recommend the Markiplier Let's Play if you're more interested. Lego Five Nights at Freddy's. It's literally just Five Nights at Freddy's 1 with some slight differences such as an added extra menu. But it's Lego. It's pretty fucking cool. Literally, how can you hate that? Unfortunately though, the original game got taken down due to a DMCA sent by the Lego group. So what you're watching is a recreation of sorts made on Scratch by Riley Gaming 978 on GameJolt, which I think is pretty cool. Alright, we spent enough time on the good ones. Now it's time to move on to what you're really here for. The degeneracy. Oh my fuck, where do I even start with this piece of shit? The gameplay is awful and has terrible flow. The game also runs like complete shit. But I do think that some of the designs for the animatronics are actually pretty cool. They're so grotesque, it really fits the whole dingy vibe of the game. I really liked Golden Call, Havoc Puppet, and the game's take on Springtrap called Garvey. What a stupid fucking name. Speaking of Garvey, upon digging deeper into the game, I discovered some interesting lore behind the fucker, who turns out is a fucking pedophile rapist that raped a 15-year-old girl to death because they made fun of him for his skin condition that made his skin purple. What makes this even worse is that Garvey is essentially a fucking self-insert for one of the developers. Turns out, Blackout 1912 is a pedophile, a necrophile, a transphobe, and a fucking groomer. As far as I know, the other developers and modelers haven't been in any controversies since they only made some of the animatronic models for Dormitibus, such as Garvey, or helped with some coding. If you're interested in the game, don't even fucking bother with the original. Instead, play the 2023 remaster that was made by Expelled Studios. The game models are far better, the gameplay is more funner, and Garvey isn't an absolute degenerate pedophile piece of shit. I'll have that linked in the description if you want to check it out. An hilariously bad and edgy game made by a hilariously sad and petty loser. I'm not even gonna go over the gameplay. All of them are unoriginal and the games look fucking asinine. Like, holy shit. Although, if you do, for some fucking reason, want to see the gameplay, go and watch Risk Grimm's playthrough. I will, however, go over the story and the hilarious controversies. Of the developer Tyler Alstrom. Alright, so getting into the batshit insane story first, which was explained in a novel that I am going to summarize because it is way too fucking long. Some Japanese facility is trying to create a cure for, and I quote, super cancer, which somehow leads them to creating animatronic vessels which they can transfer the souls of the super cancer patients in to save them. This also grants them eternal life, which makes a gangster in the US want it, and they refuse, which leads to the gangster taking over the facility and stealing the animatronics. They use them to open a restaurant as a front for a fucking slave ring where they send people down to work for their entire lives, and if they fuck up, they get put in the torture suit. More edgy shenanigans occur, and boom, that's literally the entire book. Alright, so, moving on from that edgy shit, to the man behind The Return to Freddy's. Tyler Alstrom. He grew up enjoying games like Crash Bandicoot and other games from the PS1 era. Later, unfortunately for us, discovering that he enjoyed not only playing games, but creating games too, and eventually decided to make the first Return to Freddy's game, which was a fucking piece of shit that reused every single model from Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2, and was marketed as the third game in the franchise, forcing Scott Cawthon to take it down. Not only this, but he also stole Emil Mako's Candy character for some reason, and just renamed him Sugar, and also changing the files to insult Emil when he got called out, probably out of pettiness because Five Nights at Candy's was doing so unbelievably well. In the next game, he actually decided to start making his own models, and they looked like they were made out of poo for some reason. Of course, despite controversy, he kept Sugar in the game, and also created an insert character for his ex-girlfriend called Kitty Fazcat. He also later stated that it was his least favorite character, probably because he was salty she broke up with him. After his therapist apparently directed him to stop developing games because apparently game development was too stressful for Tyler, he passed the franchise over to someone named Yin Koyu. This was just fucking Tyler on an alternate account. About a year later, he began developing a reboot for the franchise and created his own game development team called Kiraya Studios, but he ended up canceling the project. Apparently the game was even going to have voice acting. Later on, he announced he was trying to make a second chapter in the series, The Return to Freddy's Volume 1. Apparently this game was actually going to be free roam, and in a Q&A video, he said that the game was going to be as big as the Amnesia games. This was an obvious lie. The game was even slated for a March to April 2018 release, with a trailer even being planned to drop for November 15th. When the 15th of November came around, the trailer never even fucking showed up. Tyler gave the excuse of computer limitations, and then said that it will release on March to April of 2018. When the date came, the game was just cancelled, probably because he couldn't handle making the game. He then went on to say that it was cancelled so that he could remove all references to Five Nights at Freddy's, and he wanted to make it its own standalone series, even saying that the acronym TRTF now stands for The Road That Falls, a separate game from The Return to Freddy's that also got cancelled in 2018 due to overambition, but made a comeback in late 2022 with a trailer dropping for the game, starting an ARG for the series. I have no fucking idea what happened beyond this, and this is getting way too long anyways, and that is the story of Tyler Alstrom, and the story of The Return to Freddy's. Thank you very much for sitting through this video, especially the Return to Freddy's section. I'm just starting this channel, so I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and I would appreciate it even more if you would tell me what I did wrong, because I really do want to improve. I'd also like to clarify that I will not only be doing Five Nights at Freddy's videos. The next video will probably be Five Nights at Freddy's themed, but I'll be doing more general variety. Anyways, Block A out!